The nonstop gun violence is taking a front seat in the race for Senator Cruz's seat in the U.S. Senate, with a new candidate throwing his hat in the ring. And the state Senate will pass the anticipated property tax relief bill.
Plus, will Amazon have to ditch their Prime delivery slogan? It's 1 o'clock and the NewsFeed starts now.
Good afternoon, I'm Isabel Price.
And I'm Amber Slaughter.
And thank you so much for joining us. State Senator Roland Gutierrez, who represents Uvalde, is vying for Senator Ted Cruz's seat. He officially launched his campaign on Monday, where he accused Texas Republicans of neglecting gun safety systems. Gutierrez says gun control will be a central issue during the campaign.
We have Republicans like Ted Cruz that have failed to do anything to protect our kids. Well, my response to Ted Cruz is that I wish he'd get back to work. I wish he would do his job.
Before he can take on Senator Cruz, Gutierrez will have to defeat the only other Democrat in the race, U.S. Representative and former Obama administration official Colin Allred. Gun violence awareness is hitting the road. Families of the victims from the Uvalde, Santa Fe, and Parkland school shootings were in Austin on a cross-country bus tour aimed at getting lawmakers' attention. Monique Lopez reports.
17-year-old Joaquin "Guac" Oliver was one of many who lost their lives in the Parkland High School shooting in Florida. The teen gunman, convicted of opening fire with a semi-automatic rifle at his former high school, killed 17 people. That school massacre, we all know, was not the last.
After Parkland, we learned a lesson, and then Santa Fe came, and they learned the lesson, and then many other shootings happen. And a lot of people that are not here learned the lesson. But the political inaction was still there.
Joaquin Oliver is the driving force behind Guac's magical tour. His parents, Manuel and Patricia, are hopping on their bus going across the country, stopping in cities including Santa Fe and Uvalde. The goal is to sound the alarm on gun violence even louder than before.
Anyone that is questioning, but what do you want? I want the whole country to be offended by what is happening here. A first world country that thinks that this is normal.
The Olivers were joined by other victims' families from Uvalde and Santa Fe at the Capitol, all pushing for action.
This building, it pisses me off so damn much because the people, the politicians in this building were more upset because I was louder than 85 decibels than the fact that our kids were murdered.
School is starting. You all will be buying books, school clothes, backpacks, and are you ready to add a coffin?
A harsh reality, these parents say, if state and federal lawmakers continue to refuse to take significant action to prevent gun violence.
Unfortunately, the violence doesn't seem to end. 6 people were injured following a shooting at a high school party in El Paso Friday night. The shooting happened around 9:45 p.m. near the El Paso Country Club. No injuries are considered to be life-threatening. Police originally said 8 people were injured, but have since revised that number to 6. They say that it is possible that some may have refused to be taken to the hospital. No one is in custody at this time. Next month, it would be 4 years since a gunman shot and killed 23 people at an El Paso Walmart. Last Friday, the convicted shooter was sentenced to 90 consecutive life sentences. Emily Schmidt has a closer look at why some family members of the victim says that punishment still isn't enough.
There is an irony. A woman who lost her aunt in the deadly El Paso Walmart shooting said in court this week of who was in the room where Patrick Crusius waited for sentencing.
He wanted to get rid of the Hispanic people here in El Paso, but he didn't do that. He failed. And now he's in a room full of Hispanic people. And he didn't win. We're still here and we're not going anywhere.
She and dozens of other family members of the 23 people Crusius killed spent 2 days in court providing victim impact statements.
I do feel better that I was able to talk to him and made him look in my eyes. He's a pathetic piece of trash.
I don't forgive him. I don't think he deserves anyone's forgiveness. I don't think he deserves anything.
What do you want to happen to him?
The death penalty.
Crusius pleaded guilty earlier this year to 90 federal charges, including hate crimes, for killing 23 and injuring 22 more. His attorney told a judge Crusius is mentally ill but not racist.
We're trying to understand why didn't he do this and why didn't he do that. If you have a broken brain, if your brain is broken and it's not processed and you're not under medication, it's what happened.
The federal judge's imposing of 90 life sentences doesn't satisfy all critics.
We should not have had to wait 4 years for this guy to go to jail or get the death penalty.
Prosecutors in Texas promise they will seek the death penalty. Yet that trial isn't expected to happen until 2024 or 2025. I'm Emily Schmidt reporting.
Coming up in 2 minutes, we have body cam footage from a shooting in Fort Worth, and the state Senate is making moves on your property taxes.
This fall, earn an art core credit that's fun and easy. There's a variety of dance appreciation sessions offered for 16, 14, and second 8-week courses. You'll learn the history and context of different dance genres, ranging from African, tap, modern, and ballet. The instructors are flexible to accommodate students' needs so they can successfully pass the course. Email Hyungjong or Najwa with any questions for Fall 2023 Dance Appreciation.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
High-stakes issues are facing the alliance on Ukraine's potential pathway to NATO membership. One early win on the NATO agenda, Sweden's membership getting a green light. This comes after Turkey reversed its previous opposition to the move. Here's Laura Aguirre.
All our allies agreed Ukraine's future lies in NATO.
The promise of future NATO membership for Ukraine, but no invitation yet.
Ukrainian delegation is bringing home significant security victory for the Ukraine, for our country, for our people, for our children.
Victory in the form of substantial security guarantees and aid, confirmed by G7 leaders Wednesday, designed to strengthen Ukraine's economic and military resilience against Russia's aggression.
You have to know that you spend this money for not just for fighting. You spend this money for our lives.
I hope we finally have put to bed the notion about whether or not Ukraine is welcome in NATO. It's going to happen.
Still, no timeline was given as NATO leaders balanced diplomacy and global security.
If Ukraine were admitted to NATO today, that would mean NATO would be at war with Russia today.
But the alliance did commit to streamlining Ukraine's path to membership. In Russia, the Kremlin issued a warning regarding summit events Wednesday, saying NATO security guarantees for Ukraine would only endanger Europe's future for years to come. A warning that didn't dent U.S. resolve.
We will not waver. We will not waver.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
The Fort Worth Police Department released body cam footage of an officer and an arson investigator, killing 2 men after a block party earlier this month. The 2 officers were called to the party twice over firework reports, and after responding to the second call, Police Chief Neil Noakes says one of the suspects could be seen pointing a gun, prompting the officer to kill and shoot 20-year-old Billy Smith. The 2 officers shot 30-year-old Bronchi Mentor. Witnesses are criticizing the police for firing into a crowded without announcing his presence. The investigation is still ongoing. To help deter migrant crossings along the U.S.-Mexican border, a floating barrier is headed to the Rio Grande River. As we speak, Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced in a social media video that the barrier is being deployed near the border town of Eagle Pass. The Texas Department of Public Safety is overseeing the deployment, and their Public Safety Director, Colonel Stephen McCraw, believes the barrier will be a deterrent to keep migrants from entering the Rio Grande.
Millions of Texas homeowners are closer to getting their property taxes cut. The Texas House and Senate reached a compromise deal that could save homeowners up to $1,400,000 a year. Betty Cross has the details.
Leaders in the Texas House and Senate reached an $18 billion compromise that includes tax relief for the state's 5.7 million homeowners. The legislation is expected to pass this week and includes an increase in the homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000, and a reduction in the school property tax rate for the owners of homes and businesses. Governor Greg Abbott had this reaction to the deal. I promised during my campaign that the state would return to property taxpayers at least half of the largest budget surplus we have ever had. Today's agreement between the House and Senate is a step toward delivering on that promise.
That was a little surprising to me.
But Representative Vicki Goodwin thinks the deal is premature. She said renters needed to be included in property tax relief.
If they had rented last year and their landlord provided a letter saying they paid their rent for 12 months, they would actually get 10% off of their last year's rent as a rebate.
The Democrat also wants to see a teacher pay raise that was stripped from the bill put back in the legislation. Despite the sticking points, she's optimistic the House and Senate are ready to move forward.
I do think that we will get to a final bill this second special session and pass something.
The Texas House and Senate will be back in session tomorrow to work on this proposed legislation that could deliver the biggest tax cut in Texas history.
President Biden has released some proposed measures of an executive order he signed in April to help childcare become more affordable. It would cap childcare co-pays at no more than 7% of a family's income and encourage states to waive co-pays for families at or below 150% of the property level. It would also help childcare providers by ensuring they are paid when services are provided instead of weeks later.
We hope you have your Amazon Prime deals. There could be a slow decline in receiving those packages. We have more on that in National News next.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Owen, when you came into my life, it was a whirlwind.
I just can't do it.
We didn't know what the future would hold, but we knew you would always be a part of it. Adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I'm so proud to call you my son.
You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right?
It's comfortable.
So how's civilian life treating you?
It's fine.
When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because it felt like a failure. And then I realized, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine, but if you're not, It's okay. Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
The first hearing in the classified documents case against former President Trump is set for next week. The hearing before federal judge Aileen Canyon will focus on handling classified information in the case, and it might not be fully public because of the sensitivity of the issues. Prosecutors want to go to trial in less than 6 months. Trump's lawyers want a longer delay, citing the upcoming election. They argued the presidential campaign, in which Trump is currently the GOP frontrunner, would make jury selection extraordinarily difficult. The Georgia grand jury, which will be handling potential indictments against former President Donald Trump, has been seen selected and sworn in. It took 3 hours to choose the Atlanta area panel. Trump is accused of trying to overturn the 2020 presidential election result in that state. The Fulton County District Attorney launched an investigation in early 2021. A special grand jury has already issued a redacted report and will use those recommendations to decide whether Trump should be indicted.
Amazon Prime Day deals and sales from competitors this week will shine a spotlight on Americans' love for the convenience of online retail. But there could be a slowdown on the horizon, just as consumers ramp up back-to-school shopping and retailers prepare for the crucial holiday season. Karen Kaifa joins us from Washington.
Search, click, buy, deliver. The 2-day Amazon Prime Day event is off and running and prompting others like Walmart, Target, Best Buy, and Macy's to launch their own big July sales. It also highlights the supply chain that gets a package from warehouse to doorstep.
I think we take it for granted exactly how much we're purchasing, shipping. I mean, I think for a lot of Americans, we're probably getting a package maybe every other day.
While Amazon has its own delivery network, the company relies on UPS for some shipping, like many e-commerce outlets big and small. UPS carried an average of 20.8 million U.S. packages a day through last year, and more than 340,000 UPS workers represented by the Teamsters Union have authorized a strike over pay and working conditions starting August 1st if an agreement is not reached. The Biden administration is monitoring negotiations closely.
There's a reason why the parties negotiate directly. They've stayed at the table. I'm hopeful that that is what they will continue to do.
Virginia Tech economics professor Jadrian Wooten says a prolonged strike would have a wider ripple than many consumers might think, as other shippers shoulder the extra load.
Even if you're not a UPS customer, if you are just purely FedEx, purely post office, you likely still will see an impact in your deliveries, even though you're not relying on UPS.
And it would happen at a crucial time for retailers during back-to-school shopping and as they stock shelves for the holidays.
And others in the shipping sector have been watching the UPS talks closely and thinking about their own plans in the event of a UPS strike. That includes FedEx and also the U.S. Postal Service, which has shifted to more package delivery as the number of first-class letters has declined. In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
Karen, it'll be interesting to see how these companies respond to the strikes. Karen, thank you. Check out these stunning new images NASA released to celebrate the James Webb Telescope's first anniversary. The complex of stars contains 50 stars similar in mass to our sun. That means these future planetary systems may resemble what our own solar system looked like in the very beginning. The James Webb Telescope is the most powerful ever sent into space. NASA shared its first set of images 1 year ago yesterday.
National Weather Service data found heat deaths have outpaced hurricane deaths in the U.S. by more than 8-1. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration will use $5 million of federal money to create 2 new virtual research centers. Those will help underserved communities around the U.S. better understand and prepare for extreme heat. Administration officials are meeting to discuss how they can make affordable housing more resilient to climate shocks and extreme weather.
it looks like triple-digit temperatures are here to stay. Right now, it's 95 degrees with a feels like of 100. Clear skies basically all day with a high of 105. Expect a heat index of 110. And be prepared, everybody, with the heat advisory in effect. Heat exhaustion is a real thing. Make sure you stay hydrated, limit your time outside, and just drink plenty of water. Here's our weekend forecast. Tomorrow on Friday, no break from the triple digits with a high of 104 and a low of 80. Pretty similar on Saturday and Sunday, just a bit cooler. Here's our triple digit forecast for late next week. No break from the triple digits at all through the whole state. And my golly, I'm glad we're not on the West Coast. As you see on Death Valley, high of 125 on Saturday. I feel bad for them, especially because of that heat index. Here is our 5-day weekly weather forecast. On Monday, expect a high of 103 and a low of 81. Pretty similar on Tuesday. And Wednesday, basically just expect the same thing. Thursday, have a high of 105 and a low of 82. Basically today, but next week. And on Thursday, expect a high of 103 and a low of 81.
The second half of the Rangers season starts tomorrow. The U.S. Women's National Team is gearing up for the World Cup. And how are the Americans doing at Wimbledon? Keep it here. Timeline Sports is next.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Everyone deserves to live a full life. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
It's the week of the All-Star break, but also a big week for the Rangers. Adolis Garcia was named the starter, giving the Rangers 5, the most for an All-Star team in the last 47 years. Then they drafted Florida superstar Wyatt Langford with the 4th pick. The Rangers also brought back reliever Matt Bush from Milwaukee to bolster the bullpen. The second half of the season starts tomorrow as Cleveland comes to town. First pitch, 7:05. In Wimbledon, no more Americans remain in the tournament. Christopher Eubanks had a 2-1 lead but lost 6-1 in the final set to third-ranked Medvedev. Same story on the women's side as Madison Keys dropped straight sets. On the pitch, the U.S. men's national team took down Canada in an exciting game Sunday that went down to penalty kicks to advance to the semifinals of the CONCACAF Cup. We could be looking at a potential U.S.-Mexico final. As for the women, they took care of Wales 2-0 in the final warm-up game before the World Cup. They'll meet Vietnam, and I'll have more in-depth details on that Game 1 matchup next week. Lastly, former U.S. sports doctor Larry Nassar was stabbed multiple times Sunday at a federal penitentiary in Florida. Nassar was taken to a local hospital where he remains in stable condition with injuries including a collapsed lung. If you recall, Nassar is serving a life sentence after being found guilty in 2017 for sexually assaulting more than 300 victims during his time as the Olympic and U.S. Women's National Gymnast team physician. And that's your Timeline Sports. Keep it here. We'll be right back.
This fall, earn an art core credit that's fun and easy. There's a variety of dance appreciation sessions offered for 16, 14, and second 8-week courses. You'll learn the history and context of different dance genres, ranging from African, tap, modern, and ballet. The instructors are flexible to accommodate students' needs so they can successfully pass the course. Email Hyungjong or Najwa with any questions for Fall 2023 Dance Appreciation.
Need a ride? Yeah! Driving with kids is a big responsibility.
Hop in and buckle up!
So don't sweat the small stuff.
You got paint all over our paper!
Get the big stuff right instead.
What does that mean?
Like making sure your kids are in the correct car seat and buckled up for safer travel.
That deserves a wiggly wiggly wig.
To make sure your child is in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Beep, beep.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama?
like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Jack Madison celebrated his 98th birthday this week, but he's not taking it easy. The World War II veteran keeps busy by giving tours of Ship Island in Biloxi, Mississippi. Through his near century of existence, he has seen a lot of history unfold, and he's bringing that to life with his tours. Fort Massachusetts was built on a ship island just after the War of 1812. Jack says he still feels at home there and will continue giving tours of the place he loves so much.
At some point, I'm sure most everyone has owned a piggy bank to hold all of that loose change. In Arizona, this hairdresser has found a way to create a very unique piggy bank. Colleen Secor has more.
Caring for hair isn't new for Rachel Lewis.
A lot of grooming. I was a hairdresser for 13 years.
But the hair she's working with now is.
I do all the taxidermy work here. My husband came out and I had the can of hairspray and he was like, "What are you doing with that?" I'm like, "It holds the hair perfectly and the ears in place." And so he's like, "Oh, I knew your hairdressing would come in use," and it really kind of has.
Opening Copper State Taxidermy in Chandler about 3 years ago.
I'm an animal lover and always have been, and I just thought there's no way I would, do something like that. I guess I just fell in love with that it's actually an art.
Creating something new from something dead.
I'm not a hunter and I have never taken an animal myself, but I just love kind of giving them essentially like a second life and being able to enjoy them in another way.
Creativity.
With being a hairdresser, you look at hair patterns and things like that, and that's what a lot of the taxidermy is like being able to put the skin back where it should go.
And now bringing back nostalgia and novelty.
I ended up creating a taxidermy piggy bank.
Inspired by a digital art creator, the idea cured for a few years.
It just kind of came into my mind when I got the specimens in, and I had it, kind of locked away for a while. I took a casting from the pig. So this is my original, kind of prototype that I started with.
Creating this.
It's an interactive piece too. It's not, just like on the shelf.
While she intended to keep the one she has finished, she sold it, but is working on another. The specimens come from pigs that are stillborn or die shortly after birth from local farms.
I just hope that they understand that I'm not causing harm to these animals and that they really are loved.
An art.
And the people that fall in love with these pieces, they really do cherish them.
With a new life.
I kind of took them on as what can I do with this to kind of salvage or give it a life that it didn't kind of get to have.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here on the news feed. We'll see you next time. Have a great week.
And great news. Have a good day.
This fall, earn an art core credit that's fun and easy. There's a variety of dance appreciation sessions offered for 16, 14, and second 8-week courses. You'll learn the history and context of different dance genres, ranging from African, tap, modern, and ballet. The instructors are flexible to accommodate students' needs so they can successfully pass the course. Email Hyungjong or Najwa with any questions for Fall 2023 Dance Appreciation.